Welcome to our last episode of Persistence of Joy. I want to quickly apologize for the quality of the sound recording. We've just been having phone issues, so decided to press ahead in the interest of content over production. This is the last conversation with my mom, talking about how she lost her mother to polio when she was just a young girl. And I think it's just a really beautiful way to sum up our conversations that we've been having. I want to dedicate this podcast to my friends who've lost loved ones over the last couple of years, either to COVID or other sudden complications. In particular, Mariko Yoshimura Rank, Joanna Kohler, Carrie Bush, Allison Gasso, and most recently, my sweet friend Meredith Nunakoven, who just lost her mom. This is especially dedicated to you.
What I gained from this is sort of like, don't take time for granted. Get stories that matter or mean something to you.
Yeah.
Connect with them quickly, because the ultimate part is like, you still don't know so much about your mom. You don't know your mom. Your mom didn't get to fully live her life as a mom, which was what she was when she died.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I was thinking about how interesting it is that you've basically had the entire opposite experience of your mom. You lived through a pandemic. You're a mom to 3 girls.
Oh my gosh.
You always say that what defines you the most is being a mom. Even it seems like when you were young, to your siblings, you were a mom.
That was a driving force throughout my life. And even as a grandma, it's still a driving force to be a mom. I do think, not to get too psychological here, but throughout my life my adult life as a mom, I have had moments when I don't consciously think of my mom. There were times when, like when you guys were the ages that me and my 2 sisters were when I lost my mom.
Right.
There are times when it almost moves me to tears to think I was that age when I lost my mom. It's just fleeting. It's not like it's with me all the time. But when you were, like 3 or 5 or, the ages that Pam and Vic and I were when we lost our mom, there really have times when I have just had this sadness that flooded me, that just watching you guys and thinking, man, I wonder how I felt. I wonder, that, because you think of how much a child needs their mother.
Yeah.
And of course their dad, I know they need their dad too. But, mom tends to be the main caregiver. And I just fleetingly, I would picture, how did my 3-year-old self feel when I was calling for my mom? You know how kids are?
Oh, yeah.
I want my mom. You say, I want my mom. Where's mom? Bedtime. Where's mom? I want my mom.
Yes.
I just, God, that had to just feel so bad. And those are the times I would just try to be private and cry, because it's distressing for kids to see their mom cry.
Oh, yeah.
And it would just flood over me, like I just had to sort of express it or go with it, But I just was too embarrassed to do it in front of you guys or in front of Dad. It was just something that was there. And I didn't know what to do with it. According to my family, stories. It really shattered my dad when my mom died too. So
I really can't believe you did become a mom after everything you went through.
Yeah. And Mandy, actually, I have huge regrets. As far as I wish I could have understood my dad. I do realize I did try to talk to him as I became a mom, and I did try to talk to him about. I didn't ask him direct questions about my mom, but mostly I talked to him about his drinking. So, and that's when I got brave enough to. I had spent a year at Al-Anon, and then I thought, I know everything, and I'm going to be able to talk to him and turn his drinking around, which is just so stupid, but you don't know that at the time. When I did talk to Dad, I remember coming back for a visit from Pennsylvania and talking with my dad, and he could so manipulate the conversation, but he would almost always bring it back to, when your mom died. It was just a really hard time for me, and that but we wouldn't. It was just like he'd shut down after that. No, I couldn't ask him any more questions about my mom. However, I try as an adult. I try, and of course, I never had the opportunity to really have a conversation with him, and I don't believe even if I had that opportunity, I don't believe Dad could have opened up to me. There were times when he would come home incredibly drunk and kind of, it's a little confusing to look back on now, and Pam and Vic and I have only mentioned this to each other a few times, trying to understand it, but Dad would come home very drunk, and then he would go upstairs to the bedroom, and then he would be on the bed, on his and Mom's bed, and then Mom would send me and Vic and Pam upstairs because Dad had told Mom to send us up. Dad would be at the head of the bed, kind of propped up on pillows, and Pam, Vic, and I would stand at the foot of the bed, kind of be. It's a little hard to describe. It feels weird and awkward.
No,
I remember this. It didn't happen a lot. It happened a few times. I remember, especially in 6th grade, this happening, and then. What he wanted to do with us 3 girls is he just wanted to talk about our mom.
Wow, geez.
And so when I look at it from adult eyes, I think it must have just been absolutely as profoundly sad for him as it was for me as an adult thinking about, maybe he was looking at the 3 of us and thinking, how sad they didn't get to be raised by their mom. I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking. But and then we would just stand there and listen to Dad talk. He didn't want to hear anything from us, no questions or anything. But he just would ramble on and on and on about our mom and he would describe her as an angel. And that's mostly what I remember. And then he would just talk and talk and talk until he would fall asleep.
Wow.
And then we would leave the room. But Pam and Vic and I would just sort of, not like we stood at attention, but we didn't say a word. We didn't look at each other. We just stood, the 3 of us, kind of shoulder to shoulder, but uncomfortable. And just didn't know what to do or say, and just let Dad ramble until he fell asleep. Pam and Vic and I have, we've just kind of, all we've said to each other about that is, that was weird, wasn't it? But we didn't try to explain it to each other.
Right.
my perception of it now is that I think my dad just didn't come to terms with her loss, or he just didn't know how to. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. But as I got older, even as a senior in high school, or when I came home after my summer in Oregon, there were times that Mom knew Dad was coming home drunk. She would take all the kids, go to Grandma's, leave me to handle Dad.
Oh, God. Oh.
I don't know why that was, except that, I would get Dad out of the car, and he could hardly stand up, and I'd bring him into the house and, make him something to eat. And then once again, he would just talk about, my mom was such an angel. And then he would just, okay, it just sounds so pathetic, but he would say, he'd name off each of the kids, and I just love them so much. And then he'd always leave me out.
Oh, my God.
He'd never say to me. He would never say to me, and you too, or, I love you. He just wouldn't say that. So.
Wow. And never did, right? Never did.
Yeah. And that is a little bit of a struggle for me too, because I can't figure that out. And, you don't want to say, "Ooh, I'm an awful person. That's why he didn't like me."
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's just a little hard to go there. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No. God, I just mostly don't try. I mostly don't try to figure that out.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take a little pause at this moment, because I don't know that I gave my mom the appropriate space and time to really process this emotion when we were talking. It was really hard for me to hear her break down like this, and I just want to give her that space now.
That maybe you'll never have that answer, but the question I think everybody who knows you asks is, how does she have you have an abundance of love, even to the fact that you were the one taking care of your drunk dad that never said I love you. Have this utter nurturing quality that is just profound. It is profound that I really think, I know I'm being a little crazy and spooky, but I just feel like you have your mom in you, and she came through in you. And that the fact that you had 3 girls, and one of your girls had 3 girls, is just too coincidental. It's just like,
that is bizarre.
It
sort
really
of cosmic, isn't it?
Yes, it's cosmic. Let's go with cosmic.
Yeah.
It really does. It feels like,
It's so funny, Mandy, because when you said that, when you said, how is it that you can be that way, I was going to say, maybe it's my mom coming through.
It is your mom.
Pam and Vic, I think they're both really cool people, too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both just really interesting. They both are very upbeat. They're very positive about people.
Yeah.
They're interesting people. Vic, after high school, going into the Air Force, after after struggling with trying to
everything else,
work in the insurance industry, getting fired from her job and just not knowing what to do, and going into the Air Force, and and Dad was very opposed to Vic going into the Air Force. She had to kind of fight him on that.
Yeah.
Just as he was opposed to me going to college.
Yeah.
Pam really wanted to be a teacher, and Dad wouldn't let her go to college either.
Yeah.
So,
Jeez.
but all of us fought through and led interesting lives, you know.
Yes.
Both Pam and Vic have wonderful families. Pam, you know, opened her floral shop after having a number of interesting jobs.
Yeah.
And, you know, Pam is so fun to be around, and as is Vic.
Yeah.
And so somehow our mom came through that, and it came through us.
Man,
So see, Mandy, don't you wonder then, to bring it back to this COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah.
We have lost 600,000 people in that pandemic. I watch the PBS NewsHour every Friday. Judy Wardrop does a beautiful portrayal of, you know, a handful of people who have died. And all of those portrayals have been little videos sent in, created by their family members that lost that person.
Yeah.
Every one of them moves you to tears, and you just think, oh my God, we've just lost so many wonderful people. And so to bring that whole, you know, me losing my mom to polio in the polio epidemic, and then all these people losing mothers, sisters, grandmothers, aunts, grandpas, uncles, you know, on and on, husbands.
Yeah.
And that is the deep tragedy of this horrible pandemic we hope we are coming through now. And I just hope I truly hope they all can get to lead a good life. I hope they all get to have an exciting, I feel like I've just had an amazing life, and you know, a lot of that has been luck, a lot of that has been choices I made, but a whole lot of it has just been, you know, lucky enough to meet Dad, lucky enough to have you and Beth and Annie, you know, lucky enough to have grandkids now. You know, I have been lucky. And so maybe, you know, a tough beginning helped forge something in me that made me insist that I was going to have a better journey through life, which created a fire in me that I am going to do this. Nothing is going to stop me from enjoying what I have of life. Nothing is going to stop me from, you know, I don't care about money. I don't care about status, but I care about people, and I really care about the people I love, you know. And I feel really bad I kept my family from you guys, because I do have wonderful siblings. I really do have wonderful siblings. You know, I kept that from you guys, and that is something I feel sad that was not a good choice I made there. But my dad was living most of that, a good share of that time, and it was really difficult for me to be around him very much. And so, you know, that influenced how much I exposed you guys to my family, because most of my family did remain living around my dad. And, you know, I have to stop painting my dad as a villain, because he was not a villain. He was really well loved. And I think I've told you his funeral, the church was packed. There were so many people that loved him. And so I just don't know what little thing happened or big thing happened that I end up feeling like about my dad like I do, because Vic and Pam have some of the same feelings I do, but for the most part not. And I think Pam was able to forgive Dad because she lived near him, and she was able to forge a stronger bond with him in later years. And then, I always kind of joke about this, but really Vic was one of Dad's favorites, and she knew that. However, she doesn't have just a rosy picture of Dad. She does have some of the bad feelings I have.
Yeah.
I just, maybe it's a. I mean, I'm not saying this. Maybe it is a fault in my the way I process things. I do hold grudges, so maybe I just held a grudge against my dad for not, that I didn't get to be a favorite.
I mean, that one's kind of legit. So parents shouldn't have favorites for that reason.
I did some cool things. How come you didn't say, "Wow, I'm proud of you"? I never heard those words from my dad, but I'd like to have heard that. So, but quite honestly, probably Pam and Vic never heard those words from Dad either. So,
right.
I don't know. I've never asked them that, but it's probably they didn't. So,
it's funny because your grudge was strictly with him, though. Like that's, I guess, my point. You didn't carry it to your own kids. You could have said well, you only get told that when you really do something great. You know what? There's some parents like that really, for whatever reason, that are like your dad. And maybe your dad had a similar, I mean, he does sound like he had a more challenging family life and life than your mom did. And so maybe your mom really was a lifeline for him.
I'm sure that was a wonderful thing for Dad, just as it was a wonderful thing for me to meet your dad. I just love your dad, and he's been just the most wonderful companion throughout my life. And it's certainly with ups and downs, but. My dad had I didn't learn about a lot of my dad's life because he truly did not share his life story with us. And a lot of that we pieced together mostly after he died. But my dad had an incredibly difficult life. His dad was sent to Stillwater prison for a year and then institutionalized after that. Can you imagine my dad back in that was like the 30s or the 40s? In a small town, you can imagine the baggage he carried. And then to marry my mom, who was, she was prom queen, she was homecoming queen. She was
from a nurturing family, right? It seems like a nurturing family.
So you can imagine at least I try imagine, and I could be wrong, but I'm sure he had to feel like, wow, that was a real step up. Or maybe that was just validation for him. And, he was raised by my grandma Miller, whom I just loved. And I know my dad just loved his mom. She was a single mom back in the days when it was really incredibly difficult for a woman to raise kids. And my grandma raised 3 boys, with her husband institutionalized. So, that is where Dad came from. So, but I couldn't understand that and didn't even know that as I was growing up. A parent's influence in a child's life is tremendous. It is just, it doesn't completely form you, but it's incredibly formative. So, And then a lot of it is just on you after that. The genetics you inherited. How the reading you do, I have to say, Mandy, that I was an avid reader from a young age, and reading was a huge influence on how I looked at life. Even just to see a National Geographic magazine and know there was a world outside of little town Minnesota. That was pretty huge for me. And then the reading I did was, I read A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, which Dad has been curious about lately, which is about a young girl dealing with her dad's alcoholism. And I read that when I was about third or fourth grade. I mean, that was pretty young to be reading a book like that. Yeah. But that was helpful for me. Reading helped me understand. It helped me understand, and it helped me, I think it helped form my attitude toward life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And your vocabulary and your ability to use words to communicate, which really does influence the kind of connections you make with people, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's really huge.
Yeah, yeah. And then I have to say, Mandy, and I mean, Dad was a very warm person in many ways. And I do believe I probably inherited some of that. Some of the good stuff from him, you know, and the fact that he was well liked. I think I inherited some characteristics from him.
Ability to connect.
Yeah, I never felt shunned by classmates. I never felt out of the loop. I always felt accepted, and I even going through the hard stuff, I still felt like a happy person. You know, I've always loved nature. I've always liked animals. I mean, all of that is accessible to you, even when you're living in downtime. So,
that's true. Right.
Yeah. So it's you know what I guess what you choose to let influence you, but those were all really upbeat, good things for me. Yeah. And then I truly did just love my siblings, and we did a lot of laughing. And and the music was, you know, I've always loved music, and music was a huge influence on me. Yeah. You know, the whole rock and roll and Beatles, and even before that, I was in band, and I just always have liked music, always. And my stepmom always loved music. She always had the radio on. Oh, Mandy, oftentimes when I hear music, I think of my stepmom. You know, really? I think of Mom. She loved, I remember playing records in the basement when she and Dad were first married, and I remember songs like the Tennessee Waltz. With Tennessee Ernie Ford singing the Tennessee Waltz. She always liked Bing Crosby. Apparently my mom liked Bing Crosby, but so did my stepmom. And I like Bing Crosby. Sometimes it just floors Dad that I can sing some of these spirituals, the old rugged cross, you know, because Mom would always listen to the radio, and she'd always listen to Back to the Bible broadcast.
Really?
Yes. So that was very musical, and they would sing songs like that. The old rugged cross.
But how does that go? The old rugged. I don't think I know that one.
Man, I'm not going to sing that. But I'm always so embarrassed to sing. But you know what's too bad? Apparently my mom was a really good singer.
Yeah.
But I am not.
But you like music.
I remember once I loved Chad and Jeremy, and I was in 6th grade, and they came out with that summer song. And I remember listening to that on the radio and doing dishes with Pam. And oftentimes Mom would get mad and just turn off the radio. But I told her, I sort of defiantly said, I really like this song. And Mom kind of defiantly said back to me, well, I do too. It surprised the hell out of me.
I bet.
But I do credit my stepmom with really making music a part of my world, just through the radio. And when she was younger, as I said, when she and Dad were first married, she used to play records a lot. I remember just loving that. So all those things can go into making you a joyful person. They can go into making you feel like the world is magic. I mean, for me, I mean, that sounds extreme, but inside of me, that is what I am feeling.
Yes.
I can listen to songs that I love. You know, even to this day, I still love Summer Song by Chad and Jeremy. And it just makes me feel so good. It just makes me feel happy inside.
Trees swaying in the summer breeze, showing off their silver leaves as we walked by. Soft kisses on a summer's day, laughing all our cares away, just you and I.
And in fairness to my stepmom, she did a great job.
She did the best she could.
Exactly right.
As well.
And she did a great job in many respects. Many respects. And you know, as harsh as she was, she also was joyful. She would do special things when we had nothing. She could create a chocolate cake out of nothing. She would make fudge on the wood stove and let us lick the pan, you know, stuff like that. Or, you know, I remember her laugh. She had a great laugh. So we always loved it when she was in a good mood, because she was a really cool person when she was in a good mood. In fairness to her, God, what a tough life she had. I mean, really.
Yeah,
and then she, too, had a really, really difficult upbringing. Every generation tries to be a little more joyful than the past generation. I would hope, that's my hope, is that we all try to be more aware of each other and kinder and more joyful. Because life is so precious. And we just need to find the joy and the magic whenever we can, even in the hard times. Because there is so much magic in life if you can just get out from all the shit. That's our pandemic theme, man. We gotta keep the magic
Keep
going.
the magic. Keep it going.
Even in loss, you have to find some joy, because it will be there eventually.
Trees swaying in the summer breeze, showing off their silver leaves as we walked by. Soft kisses on a summer's day, laughing all our cares away, just you and I.
Some special thank yous now to my mom for all the time she spent talking to me throughout COVID and now into our vaccinated together time. I also want to thank Northern Spotlight for supporting this endeavor. I really hope to have more opportunities to connect with people over a podcast, and I promise it'll be a little better quality. It may not be a much better quality, but it will be a better quality podcast. And I just want to say one more time that I'm so grateful to have so much joy in my life as well. And a huge part of that is because of my parents and my sisters and all of the family and friends that we have around us. So I too am extremely grateful and will do as my mom says and continue to find the light inside and share that with others. I hope you all do the same.
They say that all good things must end someday. Autumn leaves must fall. But don't you know that it hurts me so to say goodbye to you? Wish you didn't have to go. No, 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 no. And when the rain beats against my window pane, I'll think of summer days again dream of you.